Good catch, Todd.
I just like seeing my face
Yeah.
on TV.
Yes. And just for anybody who has is watching this from the video, we did a call to order, roll call, pledge, approval of the agenda, which passed unanimously. Approval of minutes was also did pass unanimously, and public comments, of which there were none. So we are on item 3A, review of grade configuration, choices to be offered to educational partners. So the purpose of this item is simply to review the 4 choices that we made as a committee 2 weeks ago. And so what I'm going to do is share my screen and get to that portion. And so we had taken 2 votes, first initial vote, then we discussed each option and additional options in depth. We held a second vote, and it seemed clear to the committee that there were 4 options that we were really looking at. Option, and as presented in this table, so option number 1, PK through 6, right, for all of our elementary schools plus a junior high. Option number 5, the PK 6 split up into some configuration, PK 2, PK 3, 3 6, 3 5, plus a junior high. And then option 7 was a PK 5 plus 2 K8s, right, plus a middle school, right? And option 7B, which is PK 6 plus 2 K8s plus a junior high. So I'll leave that up for just a second, right? Any comments on these options that we're moving forward to, or with, to present to the public? All right, as if we are all agreed again, right, that this is the direction that we're going, we will move on to the next item, which is item 3B, the review of the town hall calendar. So, Mr. Weinstein, would you like to, or who's going to present that?
I can present that and go to my share screen. Let me bring it up. I apologize, didn't have it ready. So we were asked or tasked by the committee to figure out dates and locations where we could have the town hall meetings where the public would be able to come in and give comment on a Zoom format or in person, depending on what the committee will decide today. And I went to the wrong thing. Very good. Decide what the committee will decide today. And there it is. Thank you. Okay, and then share screen. Can everybody see that? It's a very simple spreadsheet. So on March 1st, we would be at
It went away.
It went away. Oh, wow. How about now?
Do you have 2 monitors?
Yes, I have 2 monitors. I'm putting it back.
And if you could enlarge it a little bit.
Is that coming across okay? Sort of, kind of?
Yeah, it's a little small, but
You got a view?
yeah, zooming it would be. No, that's good.
Okay, so so we decided we wanted to get it done as soon as possible. So we were looking at the weeks between the days between March 1st and March 10th. And at each location where you see, if we are in person or on Zoom, these we will have 2 simultaneous meetings. One will be hosted in Spanish and one would be hosted in English. And the invites would go out from multiple sites to these different configuration. So we're going to be asking the teachers at each site, we'll give them a ghost letter to email out to their parents directly, so that the invite is coming from the teachers and the site rather than coming from the district office. So we can get more participation. Those that will come out in English and in Spanish out to our parents. And then we will also have this posted. I've already contacted Peggy Kelly and she'll post it with these dates and times in the Santa Paula Times. And we will then present the grade configuration at these meetings. And all of the strategic planning committee is invited to be obviously at each of these town hall meetings along with our board to hear what the public has to say. So my question really to the committee is, are these dates reasonable? Are these, sites? And does the committee want to have it via Zoom or via in person? Knowing that now the mask mandates are kind of getting relaxed, what would when we did this, we weren't sure what was going to happen in Ventura County, but now that for public spaces, the masking is relaxed, and we're also expecting a relaxation of the masking in schools on February 28th. So open for comments.
As long as I've ever sat in silence, so I guess I'll speak up. I would say in person, I think would be more beneficial and give a better exchange of dialogue.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else? Let me see if I can see it.
Ilda came off of mute, but I don't hear her. So if you're saying something, might need to check your audio.
Robin?
I think some people still might be a little cautious. And if it's capable to provide the opportunity for them to Zoom and still participate, I think to have the opportunity to do one or the other is good.
We could probably bring in some laptops and stuff and give people access via Zoom also.
Could we just add one additional meeting that could be a Zoom meeting
For everybody?
for everybody?
That's also, yeah, that would be good too.
Perhaps two, so you don't have, in case they have a conflict.
Yeah, so maybe two Zoom meetings at 2 different days and times of the week. And then we can do the Zoom simulcast in both English and in Spanish so that they can join either or.
I just wanted to read a comment from Ilda. I also agree that it should be in person, as most of our families are more comfortable with in-person meetings. So I think it's reasonable to have a couple Zoom meetings as well, though.
Okay.
So Jerry.
Me, I like the more options, the better to fit whomever. Myself personally, I would love to have them in person, but adding the Zoom on would be another option, be great for those that couldn't make it or were running close and could just, log in and attend. So I like both, the combo.
All right, perfect. Awesome. Anybody else? So
David has his hand up.
Oh, there it is.
So just as a reminder, the Zoom, if we do the Zoom, it's simulcast. We wouldn't need a separate Spanish. It's simulcast.
Right. Yeah.
Spanish.
I'm just a little bit off of the schedule and more to kind of the substance. Like, how do we envision this being run? Like, are we going to need a facilitator? Are we going to, do that as a committee, or, people who are, some of us within the committee? Have we kind of thought through what that looks like?
when we were discussing it, Daniel, it was really, we would defer to the committee if they want to facilitate it, or we can appoint facilitators out of the district office to run it with co-hosting with the two chairs of the committee.
What do you,
Go ahead.
what do we think is what does the committee think about that, or are there any thoughts on that?
I think it's going to be really hard to present multiple meetings and provide the same message. I think it's super important that when that message is provided by whoever, it's a very neutral, facts only, and not trying to give their opinion, rather just trying to collect data and let people know what the options are. Because just like some of us, right, like we hear something the first time and we may think that's a terrible idea, and then we have time to get some more facts about it and we go, okay, well, I could see how that could work. But I don't think that we should have any of us that are trying to sell our agenda, if that makes sense, but rather just give the facts and the options, and then perhaps give them time. So it would probably be good to have some sort of a script or facilitator or something to go off of, so it could be a consistent meeting message at each meeting.
To build off of Todd's idea, maybe off of that script, you could actually do a recorded webinar, and there's a way to click registration so that people can still see a webinar on demand that is also, a bilingual one, and maybe do like electronic forms so that you can get feedback if feedback is something that you're going to be receiving. So that for those people who want to go back and either watch something again or just watch the facts and then be able to respond, they would be able to do it, so that you do have your live Zooms as well as your live meetings, but then there are also those people who want to see it on demand in their own time. So having that other option available, I think would be good.
And to piggyback off Liz, and she piggybacked off me, I think if we made that video that was played at the beginning of each meeting, so each meeting did get that same consistent message, and then perhaps the committee or whoever was there could be there for the Q&A part. Then the same message is going to be delivered to all the groups, and right, because in part of it, you don't just want to give them the options of what's going to happen, but there has to be a why, right? Why are we going down this road? So you can provide some of the background, some of the steps that we've taken already, and then some of the options for the future. And then we could be there to answer some of the questions or concerns they may have based off of watching that information.
Just a couple comments from Ilda, again, from the chat, just to make sure that everybody sees them or hears them. I think it's going to be tough to be at all the meetings considering they're all the same week. So yeah, that's true, right? And then she said, yes, I like the idea of same video presented at the beginning of each meeting. Any other comments on the meetings itself, on how we're going to get the word out, on on the form, but before we move on to the next item, Kevin, if you don't mind, I think we should just at least show the beginnings, the draft of the survey, of the feedback form that we might want to be giving out.
Actually, you're covering 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah, there's three in the first week, and then, or 4 in the first week, and then 3 in the second week. So still quite a bit of meetings though.
Would you like me to share my screen?
Oh, sure. In just 1 second, Fabiola has a comment.
I have more of a question. In regards to the in-person meetings, would there be interpretation available for adults?
So what, go ahead. Oh, Mr. Weinstein, go ahead.
So the idea was based on the suggestions from the committee to have a meeting in Spanish where we have a Spanish facilitator and the entire meeting is conducted in Spanish, and also one in English at the same time, so that anybody coming to the site can choose what their language they're most comfortable in listening to the presentation and giving their feedback.
Okay, so it's just the Zoom one that would be the one with interpretation.
Right, correct.
Okay. Yeah, Kevin, why don't we go ahead and show the survey? Oh, but actually, while you're kind of getting that over, you know, do we think that we're going to need a separate meeting to talk to, say, teachers and staff and admin and principals? Right. I mean, there's different constituencies, you know, that are here, you know, at the table. So, you know, do we think that this should be a one, you know, these are when we're doing it, and if you have comments or questions or what have you, you come to these, right? And this is the method that we're going to use. Or are there any groups that we might want to have a, you know, separate meeting for?
Daniel, just a quick comment. So the cabinet and I are creating an opportunity for all staff to give us input on different items. I believe it's on the 2nd. We call it Coffee with the Cabinet. I know, very catchy. But what we could do, we haven't sent out any invites. We haven't done anything about it. What we could do is we could actually piggyback this, that it could be a subject, and then people on the committee could be at that meeting. It's Zoom. So if you want, that'll touch base with any employee who wants to comment.
Okay. Todd.
I assume it'd be perfectly acceptable for staff to also go to the meetings that were at their sites where they may know some of the parents and, you know, but I do think that they're particularly when you talk about, you know, the 6th grade and, you know, they're going to be potentially moving to different sites, or if you were to break it up into the K3, 4, 5, 6, I think it's very important to get information from those stakeholders because they're the ones who know how they provide instruction right now. And I know only because I'm at the middle school and the 6th grade teachers are here, right? We've gone to a model where, you know, they have a little bit of the team teaching going on. And I know there's been a lot of planning and pacing. And so I think it would be important to find out how that would work at an elementary site or how it would work at a 4, 5, 6 site. And same with, you know, breaking up the K3s and the 4, 6s. I think it'd also be important to talk to the administrators and custodians and the, you know, at the different sites to see how are their facilities equipped to have a kindergartner and an 8th grader on the same campus, or a kindergartner and a 6th grader on the same campus. So I do think it's integral to get the other stakeholders at the sites to get that information. And so I don't know how exactly you want to do it, but I do think there should be stakeholder meetings for that as well.
All right. Any other comments on the meetings before we go on to the survey that Kevin has drafted up? All right, Kevin.
All right, can everybody already see the survey?
Yes.
All right, so this is a quick draft here. We started with a quick tell us about yourself, and if you have children, any children currently attending, or that you do not, or that you will have children attending, or there's always an other, and they can tell us about themselves. So we get a little demographic data from our people giving us feedback. And then we have some simple yes or no's on kind of what we thought were the three, I think, key issues that pivot the grade span adjustment. So this is just a yes or no. Do you think Santa Paula should convert one or more elementary schools to K-8 facility? Do you think Santa Paula should move 6th graders to elementary schools and change Isabel to a junior high, 7-8? So once again, just a yes, no. And then there's the question about splitting PK3 and 4-6, and that's a yes, no. And then we have a little option down here. So we have our 4 options that we ranked as our top. And hopefully what people do is, some type of, unfortunately, I'm not super pro here, so they can check, 4 like that, which would produce some bad data. But I tried to say select 1 box per row. Of course, they could also do like this, and 2 of them get the 3rd best. But in the end, hopefully, it produces some data we can use. I was thinking about doing a ranked choice. This is kind of like a ranked choice system, right, where you can assign values, and then we'll average them out to get the top and the best choice, the best option, and the 4th best option. I didn't want to say worst option, because I'm trying to keep it all positive and fair. So this is the draft. How's everybody feel about it?
Todd.
So I have some real concerns about the format that we would send this out. It seems like we're asking the same question twice, right? When we put should they change it to, and then we rank them. So I'm not sure that we would need both of those. I know at the end of the last meeting, when you talked about, actually, Kevin, you said, well, should we get somebody to professionally write a survey to elicit the information we're really trying to get? And I think I suggested that, it's one thing if I ask, should the district have a PK8? I mean, sure, that sounds like a great idea, but it's another thing. Would you send your student to a PK8? Would you prefer? And I think I tried to bring up, we had the conversation here, right? Like, we shouldn't be sending the 6th graders. Was brought up, 6th graders should not be going to the middle school because we don't want them with 7th and 8th graders. But then we say, we're going to bring 7th and 8th graders in elementary school where they have 2nd graders and 3rd graders. So I suggested, maybe a question, would you feel comfortable having 8th graders at your child's elementary school? Would you feel comfortable having 7th graders at your elementary school? Would you feel comfortable having 6th graders? Because those are the things when we had these discussions years and years ago that seemed, when we were at the community forums, and this was just talking about moving the 6th graders back to the elementary schools, there were a lot of parents of younger kids who were very concerned about having 6th graders on the elementary campuses. So I think specifically, just my opinion, that we need to know how they feel about having them there, and then use that information to decide. But I do think the rankings, kind of like you said, maybe in not a way so they could check all the boxes. But
I don't know. I don't know if that's. I don't know how to do
but,
that on here at this point. I mean, I might.
But I think that would be a good way. That would be a good way to elicit where they may prefer for their kids to go, and then maybe dig a little deeper into would they want to be in those.
So I tried to keep these just really simple yes, no's, and try to keep to the facts, because I do think that when you start to have questions, do you feel comfortable bring your kindergarten on the same campus, your kindergarten on the same campus as an 8th grader? That's a biased question. And so it's leading people towards a particular, it's alluding to a particular problem, whether or not it exists or not. So, I mean, that is another reason why maybe we should have an independent 3rd party make this. If you feel like this is a biased, questionnaire, I tried to keep it pretty yes or no and pretty simple, but I realize that you feel like those questions would be important, and I'm just saying that in my opinion, I think those are biased, but we could have an independent third party tell us.
And I don't know how you
those are
ask if I
biased.
just know, I'm just saying that I know listening to the community through those meetings that we'd previously been to, and you could probably, although I don't know, I'm one of the long timers now. There might not be a lot of people who are around then, but you could, if you ask people who were at those meetings, those were genuinely some of the concerns, just like the same concern was sending the sixth grader, right? You had two groups. You had the lower elementary parents that didn't necessarily want to have the older kids on the campus, but then you had the upper elementary kids who didn't necessarily want their sixth graders going to the middle school, right? So it would depend on where they fell in that range, which is why I think it would be good to know who they were representing, right? A second grader or a sixth grader.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
why we try to get a little bit of that data here too, so we can we can get it.
Okay, so I'm gonna call on David and then on Robin. So David had his hand up and then put it down and put it back up.
Yeah, so I think it's important too, because when we're asking parents to sort of chime in on these kinds of things, there may not be a full knowledge of what these kinds of schools look like. So I think front loading before these meetings, whether it's a website or something that they could click on that has links to some K-8 schools that are in our county, or links to schools that are junior high 7th and 8th. And some of the models that we're looking at in terms of grade configuration, so the parents can look at it ahead of time before they come to these meetings. And I'm not saying they will or they won't, but being fully educated on what these different models look like, I think would be very important in doing as much front loading as we can.
Robin.
Okay, you know, you were speaking about bias, but I think what you're saying is these parents are going to make that leap regardless, because, you know, I remember when my 6th grade daughter had to go to Isbell, and that was bothersome for me. I think it was like the second year it was in play. So as parents, they will make those leaps. So no matter how you're going to word those questions, they're going to be, I know what they're going to be seeing in their minds, you know, and I think most parents, that's what they will be doing. And also some long time history. Glen City was a K through 3rd grade school, and then everybody from Glen City would go to Blanchard, and it was a 4 through 6. And then all the 6th graders the following year moved over to Isbell. That's what the configurations were back in the day. And I can't remember what was the other way around, but who was the K? Well, no, that's not going to work. I'm stuck back in a different time. Anyway, so those were the setups at one time, and we still have all the same facilities.
Right.
Yeah, John Proctor had forwarded me some email or some clippings from the Santa Paula Chronicle about the last time we went through grade configuration. You know, it might be good for all of us to have that information. It was rather interesting to see why, you know, we went through this in the first place. Mark.
Hello, I wanted to just ask a question about, I know one of the things that was affecting the board's decision was to what extent is a neighborhood school important versus, you know, a grade level configuration or programs or things like that. And I don't really see that one of these questions addresses that. And maybe that's something to make a question about. Also, one of the options is if you're a student taking the survey, but then the question asks if you have children in a grade level. So maybe we can reword that to say, what grade level are you or the children attending? So if it's a student taking the survey, they can click the grade they're in.
Good catch. You know, I think that one of the things that I'm thinking about, you know, in viewing the survey, you know, coming off of Dr. Garcia's idea of having a video, you know, kind of pre-packaged, is that, you know, that link I'm a little bit torn to putting more information on the survey itself, right? And, you know, having resources available so that people can understand why we're thinking of the way that we are. You know, we did come up with a bunch of pros and cons. You know, it might make some sense to put that out there and say, you know, here's this configuration. Our committee thought these were the good things about it. These were, you know, the bad things about it, or pros and cons, whatever. So we don't get, you know, good and bad about it. And if we did that for each one, right, that at least gives the person who's doing the survey at least some context. So, you know, it's not just an all or nothing on all of this. We could have the video, you know, that can explain what we're doing. You know, we can have, say, a document that list out those, you know, options and, you know, put some of those pros and cons to it. And then we can have this. So, and then we can have newspaper articles, you know, Peggy can interview, you know, one of us, right? And we can kind of talk through, you know, that as well in that medium too. So Jerry, you were about to say something and then we'll get to Todd.
You took my talking point, so I put my hand down, but I want to raise it again because as a board member, I thought that's what we were going to do on the pros and cons, to really have a basic, a foundation to start a conversation with whoever was at the town hall, the meeting, whatever we're going to call them, just so that it could be an aha on one way or the other. Let's say a parent had their mind made up and then all of a sudden they realized maybe they thought they wanted to go to K-8. And then as we talk about sports and band and things that are offered at the middle school, they might go, oh yeah, I forgot, you know, really some ahas either way that we could start on and really build a conversation with the community, the stakeholders around.
Okay, and Todd?
Say, listening to Jerry, it changes my thought a bit. Like one thought is, I like the pros and cons. And so I think that should be incorporated into the video presentation, right? Like, I don't think we should just show what the best version of each plan could look like. We also need to be honest and share, like Jerry just said, some of the things they may miss out on. But I also think it may be good on the questionnaire to ask the question, have you been to a town hall meeting or watched whatever we're going to title our video, Santa Paula Unified School District in the 21st Century, whatever we title the clip that we're going to show everybody, right? Reimagining Santa Paula School District. Have you watched that? And I think it'd be interesting to see if there were patterns for people who saw the videos or went to the town halls compared to those who didn't. That was my only thought.
That'd be interesting. Okay, does anybody else have any further thoughts on this? Because I would like to wrap this up because we're not going to just talk about grade configuration today. All right. I think at this point, right, you know, there's a lot of ideas that were expressed. Does it make sense for admin / cabinet to, you know, take their best crack at incorporating these ideas and then have them, you know, some of these things reviewed by the committee outside of a meeting? I think our outside meeting, you know, work has been pretty fruitful. So, you know, does that make sense? Because it's got to get done, right? Because 2 weeks from now, we will be one meeting in or 2 meetings. Because that'll be March 1st. Or let me see, what was that? I just wanted to double, that would be March 2nd, Wednesday, March 2nd. So if we're thinking about starting these on March 1st, which I think we should, then we need to think about that. John, okay, you have a, sorry.
Yeah, a couple things. Are we considering doing the video in Spanish also? And same thing with the survey. Is that going to be in Spanish? Because there's going to be a lot of parents that don't understand English. that will need that? Or on top of that, are they going to have the ability to fill it out on paper for those that don't know how to do it online? Some parents, is that going to be made available? Any thoughts to that?
Definitely Spanish. I was thinking that for the in-person meetings, we would bring some Chromebooks and have them set up to the survey so that people could still use this document. We can always have a few printed out for backup, I think, but obviously just for data collection purposes, it's always nice just to keep it all in the form.
Yeah, because I'm just concerned that a lot of them won't be able to read this in English, and they just need to have an understanding of what they're filling out too.
Well, we'll get a Spanish version for sure.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Kevin was not equipped for doing that. Todd.
I would just say, in listening to some of the ideas that were developed today, like the video, I would just come back and ask if starting those meetings on the week of March 1st is a realistic time span, or should we take a little bit more time to make sure that we can get that
Right.
done properly, and maybe even have this committee have an opportunity to have input on, you know, the video and see what it's at and make sure it has everything we're hoping it would have. And tasking people, I guess, even to make that video, right? So that would be my question, if we are in a realistic timeline.
Well, the only thing I will say, right, to that, did someone have their hand put up? I thought it. I was going back and forth between screens. The only thing I would say is, you know, looking at the calendar on March the 2nd, that is actually Ash Wednesday. So I don't know if that's I hadn't thought of that. You know, that probably isn't a great day to do a town hall, which would leave one before, right, which would be March 1st. I am I'm hesitant to not push and not push hard, right? But I'm also, you know, probably not going to be the one who's doing the work, right? So I would like to hear from others if we think that this is actually, you know, achievable. And Todd, I do agree that I think that the committee should have some sign off on the materials that are being presented, you know, and given that that'll take, you know, a few days, you know, of lead time, you know, to get that, you know, before we start the meetings. What do people think? Especially the staff who's going to be spearheading the creation of such things.
No, I think we can meet just about any timeline, but I do agree that if we create everything and the committee needs to review it, we can set a meeting for the week of March 1st, I guess it would be, right? And then we can start the meetings the following week with the town hall. That way they'll give us a last minute chance to make any adjustments that the committee, you know, sees on the survey, on the materials, on whatever. And we'll get everything out to you, you know, a couple of days before the meeting with the committee meeting. That way you guys will have time to think about it and make comments, and then we can, you know, play around.
And I think some things can be sent out earlier than others, right? I mean, it's not
Yeah.
like, hopefully it's not all going to be done right before, you know, as they become done, we can send it out so we can,
right.
You know, so anyway, Ilda had a comment. Is there any way we can look at the videos information that the district is looking at to help us see what's different models our district is looking at for configurations? Just curious. Also, will this information be available for parents to look at during town halls? So I think we were talking about getting that kind of information. You know, I mean, maybe we just need some sort of fact sheet kind of thing. You know, we can't do, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe we can information overload, but, you know, in all seriousness, you know, how much will we be drilling into this? But having some of that, I think, makes some sense. Todd also just said, should we also be aware of when parent-teacher conferences are? When are parent-teachers conferences?
I believe they're the second week of March for the elementary, And then the 16th and 17th for the middle school. Is that correct, Mary?
Yeah, we have 3 minimum days, the 8th, 9th, and 10th of March for parent conferences.
I think we're 16 and 17 here at Isabel.
How would that affect the evenings then?
I just think if a parent is already clearing their schedule to go to a parent-teacher conference, they may be more hesitant to try to get out that same evening to go to. I'm just saying, is it something we should be aware of? It was just a question.
My town hall meeting's at 6:30 on the 10th, and we won't have any conferences, I don't think, that late. Typically.
I think if we can,
Look at it.
yeah. Again, I think that, yes, we should be aware of when those are. So if we can cross-reference the revised schedule that we're talking about, and then we can just send that out as an email to you guys and say, hey, just this is what we're going to do. Any, mess ups, right? Let us know.
So we're gonna change those that are that week, or should I put something out to teachers just saying, if you're gonna schedule evening conferences, can you try and avoid that 1 hour period? Or
I think it was the first week of March, that we were thinking about changing that up in lieu of, wanting to share the information of the committee first, right? And the fact that there's, Ash Wednesday on that Wednesday as well. But the second week, I don't think any reason to change that. Jerry.
Just a real quick question. If something is scheduled for that night, could a parent go to a different school? Do they have to go to that night's meeting?
Nope. I don't think so, right? I mean, I don't think so.
It might be good to put on the email sent out that you're welcome to attend any of the community meetings at any of the schools. So parents know, like, even say something, look, we know everybody's schedule is busy, so feel free to attend at any of the schools.
All right, so our marching order is clear of what we need to do, what you guys need to do.
Got it.
Okay, just one last comment. I'm not sure if it makes sense to have some sort of, that invitation that you're going to have the teacher send out. If you want to give that to the committee as well, so that they could send to their constituents. So like John Marquez has the chamber, email. I'm sure Cause has a list, and town hall too. So just so we can get, reach as many people as we possibly can. So no one says we're doing this in secret. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Yes, Liz, you do have the permission to. We're gonna move on to agenda item 3C, presentation of high school educational programs. This is our next phase, right? We are looking at educational programming from top to bottom, and we're starting at the top, right?
All right, so I know Christina is going to start us off.
Yes, so good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Christina Gonzalez. I'm the Director of College and Career Readiness for our district. So we've been asked, Dr. Garcia and I, to share an overview of our high school programs. So I'm going to give you a global overview of each program, and then Dr. Garcia will follow with more details. So you can go to the next slide, please. So we did our best to categorize the programs into 4 categories: core educationals and our instructional programs, enrichment, extracurricular activities, intervention and supports, and our specialized programs. So our core educational programs, we'll start with the advanced placement courses, and this is the program that gives our students a chance to tackle the college level work while they're still in high school. We currently are offering 12 courses, and we'll go into a list of them on the next slide. Then we have our honors courses. We currently offer 17 courses within our career technical education program, ELA, science, Spanish, and the math departments. We have our career technical education, which we refer to as CTE. We currently offer 12 pathways. Within each pathway, there's 2 to 4 courses, like a sequence of courses. We have our college preparatory courses and our English language development. We currently are offering instructional courses for newcomers to our long-term English learners, providing designated instruction. And the instructional levels are aligned to our LPAC levels, are emerging, expanding, and bridging. And our special education services, we offer RSP, which is for our mild to moderate students, as well as the moderate to severe students in our SDC courses. Our core educational do also overlap with our enrichment. So it was hard to categorize, but we tried to do it for the purposes of the presentation. But we do offer our AVID courses within the instructional day as well. We offer 9, 10, 11, and 12th grade courses. Athletics, clubs, we approximately, I think we offer 27 is what I counted earlier, 27 clubs, from the chess club to the Society of Engineers. We also have music, which includes band and choir, and a wide selection of electives that are embedded in some of these programs. So we have electives that are embedded within the career technical education program. We offer a choir elective, which is in the CTE program as well. And then the third column is our intervention and supports. We have cybersecurity, or I'm sorry, Cyber High, which is our credit recovery program. It's an online curriculum that assists with students in earning credits towards high school graduation. And we also offer, it does say before or after, we also offer during school tutoring. And our tutoring services are offered by both our credentialed teachers as well as our college AVID tutors. These are individuals who are currently enrolled in college who come to us during instructional time to offer support within the AVID electives as well as our math courses. And we have summer, migrant, and our outreach mentoring programs. Within the specialized categories, we have our ATP, which is the Adult Transitions Program. And this prepares our students with disabilities, ages from 18 to 22 years of age, for entry into appropriate adult programs and work placements after they graduate. And we also have DCAC and EAOP. These are programs that are intended to increase our college access for our students who are low income, first generation, and underrepresented high school students. We have 2 full-time representatives, one from DCAC and one from EAOP. And they offer a variety of supports from workshops, college application support, and they connect with our parents to provide information to prepare our students to be college and career ready. And I think we can go to the next slide.
And if I can just add also our DCAC and EAOP, that's a partnership with UCSB, and they each have a caseload of students that they support.
Yes, DCAC is focusing on our English learners. That's one of the cohorts that they are focusing on. Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Oh, and then you can take it over.
All righty. So thank you, Director Ornelas. You okay? Sorry. Okay, so these are our core educational programs. So you can see, I'm not going to read every single item there, but you can see that we have 12, actually it's really 14 AP courses. So where the extra 2 come in is with AP Art and Design. So we offer things in the social sciences, in the English area, in mathematics, in, I think I said science, social sciences, and in art. And then we have offered AP Music in the past. We just need to get enrollment up in that. So honors courses. So These are the honors courses that we offer, and you'll notice that there is a mix. So child development technically is a CTE course. So, but we have English, engineering, design, etc. You can see the various honors level courses. The very last one there is Spanish 2, 3, and so honors. The honors designation here is for the Heritage Speaker Program. So our students who are Heritage speakers are in a Spanish 2 or honors or a Spanish 3 honors. And then we have our career technical education electives. And as I mentioned, there are some in the honors, column that are also CTE. So we've got our CTE electives that we are currently offering. And something that we all need to be aware of is that together with Director Ornelas, we've given a survey to all of our students who are in registration right now in order to see what they are interested in taking in the future. So these are current electives. It's a little premature for us to be able to say exactly what is going to be offered next year. However, we do have the survey data, and it does state that students are pretty interested in arts, media, entertainment, engineering, and health sciences and patient care. So then we have our college preparatory electives and electives. So in this column, you can see that what is required is that students have 230 credits to graduate. That includes 60 credits of elective offerings. So those elective offerings could come from CTE or other departments. And we have the core areas, and the required courses are listed in our board policies: visual performing arts, world languages, and then of course the elective offerings. So our English language development courses, so as Director Ornelas mentioned, these are ELD 1, 2, and 3. And so these are for our newcomers. So any students who have been here for less than 5 years would be in our designated ELD program. Our students who are long-term English learners take a regular core English class. ELD does count for the core, FYI. However, our long-term English learners are receiving their ELD in the form of an integrated ELD. Special education courses are leveled. And so we can have, at the bottom is our resource specialist program. So we might have students who are completely in general education courses, which is known as the least restrictive environment. And this is a push-in model. And next year we are working with Director Varani in order to move to a co-teaching model. So we're very excited about that. We've done it in the past. For the past few years, we have not had co-teaching, and we are looking forward to getting back to that program. Then we have our functional, so our severely disabled population. So we do have our courses for our severely disabled students. So they are taking functional level courses. They are also pushed into our gen ed courses so that they can experience those electives. Fundamentals is an SDC or special day class. And then our concepts is the level right below our general education core. So depending on whether students need accommodations, which they would go into a concepts course, or if they need major modifications, they would go into a fundamentals course. And so this at least gives you exposure to our core educational programs. And what I'm going to do is just give you a quick overview of what we are doing with regard to registration. So this is an example of our sophomore registration form. So that is the week we are in. We are currently registering future sophomores, and you can see kind of what this form looks like in terms of the core and elective potential offerings. So we also, and I have some things here open for you. This is some data that comes back to like where students feel that their priority is in terms of choosing their favorite industry. And so hopefully everyone can see this okay. So what I'll do is 16.2% of students who took the survey, so this is 946 responses, are saying they're interested in health, science, and medical. Engineering and architecture is 10.5. Here is the largest, which is arts, media, and entertainment, 19. And then we have education, child developments, and family services at about 7.6. And you can see here, we've got several that are around 6 or 7%. There's public services, there's agriculture. So just so that you have just at least an idea for a launching point for the discussion. This was a survey given earlier this year in terms of what students were interested in learning more about. So this is, I think, about 940 some students. And so you can kind of see, like, students in terms of the pathways, this game design would fall in the arts, media, and entertainment. We've got digital media. Down here, we've got, medical terminology. So these are specific courses that students are interested in. So this is where students were a few months ago. And Director Ornelas, I can't remember when we gave this survey, but it was earlier in the school year. So this is our website for Santa Paula High School Counseling. So if anybody wants more information, you would be able to go here in order to access more information. So college and career resources are there, etc. And then our registration forms are here where you would be able to find out what is all available in terms of the various pathways. And this is a video. Of course, we are doing a downsize. We need to refocus. And as you've heard Superintendent Weinstein say, is that we're doing too many things and we're not doing any one of them well. And so we need to focus and streamline our programs so that we are meeting the high quality indicators of CTE program. And so over on the left, you can, we're still going to upload those for future seniors. They're not in registration yet. And then we've got our advanced placement website. And all of our teachers, of course, we are, doing our best to recruit. And we've got videos. And so Assistant Principal Guetta and Assistant Principal DeCandia have been working together with Director Ornelas in order to make these videos for our CTE. And I do have to give a special shout out to AP Guetta for putting all of the website together, and then she oversees master schedule. She's a whiz at that. So that pretty much brings us to the end of this presentation. So if anybody has any questions at all for Director Ornelas or myself, or if Superintendent Weinstein, if you want me to highlight anything else or answer any questions that I may have not answered for the purposes of our dialogue today.
Could you just briefly go over your academic counselor support, where they are meeting with students, looking at the credits they have, credits they need in order to guide them to take the right courses so that they can graduate on time?
Yes, so our process, and I'll go ahead and go back to our home. Hold on one second. Yeah, so for our particular process, our counselors meet together with every one of their students in order to ensure that they are meeting their graduation requirements. And so we have 230 credits. We've got elective core courses that they're taking, elective courses that they're taking. As we showed in the presentation, there's 230 in total, 60 come from electives. And so our counselors are constantly meeting with our students in order to make sure that they are on track to graduate. That's 1,800 students. And so they're meeting multiple times, especially with those students if they fall off track. Our academic review form also has counselors tracking our UC, CSU A through G and where students are on the UC CSU A through G track. And Christina Ornelas and we work together with our EAOP and DCAC UCSB partners, and they assist the counselors in terms of tracking whether students are UC CSU A through G. When a student gets less than a C, they fall off the UC CSU A through G track. If you go to the website through the University of California, the majority of our core courses, as well as our elective courses that meet the UC CSU criteria, are on that UC doorway site. So that just gives you a little bit of insight into the academic portion of what counselors do right now. They are meeting individually with every student in order to register them for their core courses as well as their electives, and to see where they are in terms of being on track or off track. And they are also talking with them about summer school. So right now is that opportunity. It's like, where do the credits need to be made up in order to enroll them in summer school? So we're simultaneously enrolling students in summer school as well as for the 22-23 school year.
Thank you.
All right, well then we're going to go to item 3D, which is the discussion of the high school educational programs. So Ms. Mead.
Just a real quick question. Where do we stand on dual enrollment?
So we have dual enrollment courses. We have a few, and I don't know if.
So Miss, I could add.
There you go.
So as we're narrowing the focus based on the data that we're gathering from our program evaluations and the student survey and some labor market data to identify the pathways that will be moving forward in the 22-23 school year. We already are having conversations with Ventura College and some, possibly maybe the Channel Islands as well. We haven't scheduled that meeting, but our teachers have met with the dean at BC to identify courses that we may be able to dual enroll for the following year. So those conversations are already in the works.
Thank you.
And just a little additional information. So Director Ornelas has been doing a very nice job of coordinating with our partners and also working together to do curriculum development with our teachers to see where the alignment is for curriculum and instruction, and then determining where that aligns with college curricula. And so in our streamlining efforts, it's really important for us to choose courses that are going to complement our current pathways so they lead to industry certification and students being able to continue at our local colleges and universities.
Actually, I just wanted to kind of just set at least a little context of what we're doing, right, with the remaining time that we have. I mean, this is really just an initial conversation, right? There's no decisions that are coming out of this. It's to, get you guys to think about, okay, well, what do we need to do, right? What are we lacking? What are the questions we need to ask? So, this really is a free for all kind of, whatever questions you may have or comments that you might want to make. So any thoughts? Because if you don't, I have questions.
We're ready for you, Dr. Sandoval.
As chair, I wanted to give everybody else the ability to talk first. I don't know. Well, probably most of you don't know this. This is actually probably the area in which I'm most involved as a board member. I've been working with district staff to make connections to Channel Islands in particular, since I teach there, and some other, community organizations that, I have contacts with, like, the VCMC, and others. So, a little bit farther ahead, I think, but there's still questions to be asked. I am curious about the academies, right? Because you didn't spell them out specifically, and because we have two, and how do they relate to, the CTs in general, and how we want Santa Paula High School to be known, since those are in a sense our flagship programs, or am I misinterpreting that? So just like to hear some more about that.
So
I think I could share some on the academy. I do agree that they are like our flagship programs, but they're also our model to strive towards. So we want the model that is embedded already within the academy, the supports, the availability of the teacher within the instructional day to meet regarding our students in the pathway, to identify their strengths and their weaknesses. We want that in all our pathways. We want the experiences in every of the pathways that we move forward with. So yes, the academies are strong, and we do want to also make them stronger by enhancing certifications in our work-based learning experiences and aligning to the post-secondary institutions.
one of the easiest ways to think about this is to think about our academies as a school within a school, right? So 20 years ago, the first academies were schools within a school. So, and they're written into Ed Code. And so the California Partnership Academy also comes with an ongoing grant, right? So about $70,000 to $80,000, depending on how students are performing. So currently we have our Health and Human Services Academy, CPA, and then we have our Agricultural Science, CPA, and those 11 high quality indicators that we referred to earlier, and you can look them up and Google them, are just naturally embedded into the school within a school program. So all of the other pathways that we have are they fall under 15 industry sectors. And so in those industry sectors, there could be anywhere between 4 to 6 pathways. And so currently our pathways that we offer are 2 to 3 course pathways. And then our school within a school CPA, our 10th, 11th, and 12th grade programs and they're a school within a school, and each of them has a pathway or 2 embedded in them. I won't go too deep into the technical aspects of them. However, the school within a school model is different because the students are cohorted together for their core courses as well as their CTE elective. And when you look at all of the other pathways, they're not necessarily cohorted together. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
It took me like 5 years to get this terminology down, just FYI. So,
I mean, one of the things I've said this at a meeting before, I get, I'll say concerns, right? Because part of this is kind of an equity question for me, but I don't know how much the academies cost, right? Or any given CTE, how many resources gets, allocated to one thing versus the other. Right, but everything does have a cost, right? And everything is reaching a certain amount of students. If I were to go into the high school right now, right, as a 15-year-old or 13, whatever I was, back in the day, I don't know where I'd fit. I mean, I certainly wouldn't fit in the human services or the ag academy, right? I mean, I went to Caltech, right? I wanted to be an engineer, and I know there's a couple engineering pathways in the robotics, and certainly that's something. But I had an electronics course, right? That was an elective. You know, how different is that, you know, what I experienced back 30 years ago than, you know, what our students might be, you know, going through right now. Like, so the engineering, the robotics is a 2-course? Is that a 2-course thing?
Yes.
So, isn't that just an elective? Like, we put
Yes.
the CTE, it's just kind of a fancy name for an elective.
Well, I think it's more nuanced than that, especially with the 11 high quality indicators of a CTE program. And so, you know, maybe 20 years ago, well,
It was 30.
Yeah.
You can say it. It's all right.
that's okay. We're the same age. So yeah, back in the 80s, right, when there were drafting classes and everything, you know, auto mechanics, et cetera, there were the the old ROP programs, but there wasn't necessarily a sequence that met all of these high quality indicators that are present now. So, you know, I could go do an esthetician class, or I could go do a drafting class, or I could be like, hey, you know what, I really want to go into that auto mechanics class. But now what we're trying to do is to get students to get to that level of industry certification and an opportunity for an internship, right? So that we're placing students, and that's what, as Director Ornelas indicated, is that with agriculture and our CPA and our education, is we actually are doing those things. So our education CPA does a magnificent job at placement. Originally, it was a 3-pathway sequence, and now Director Ornelas is trying to streamline that so that we're going in that education child development direction. However, we're really good at placement of those internships, and we want students to end up with whatever that certification level is that they desire, right? It could go all the way up to, you know, master's level, you know, doctorate level, or technical certification. And that's what is available in all of the various pathways. Remember, 15 industry sectors. Underneath each industry sector are multiple pathways, like spokes on a wheel.
I've got more things, but I want to give a pause for, this is yes, David.
You know, I think Dr. Garcia and Director Ornelas, I think, are really trying to put a lot of data points together for us to narrow the CTE path so that we're doing 3 or 4 or 5 really well, as opposed to being spread out. And I say they are in the beginning stages of collecting that data. And it was very telling what came out on top on some of these surveys. And one of the things that the superintendent was adamant about is making sure that when we survey, that we're surveying in layman's terms. And I wish we had time for you to all see the presentation, the videos that Director Ornelas put together for the students to see, so that they could really have all of the knowledge in making the choices on this survey. And I just want to say kudos to both of you for putting this data together for us. And I really think it'll be good in helping us determine how we narrow down the choices at the high school.
Okay, just to put, it's for people's information, there's 2 links in the chat, all right, to those documents. So, Dr. Garcia.
Yes. Is there a question?
No. Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
Oh, I'm always ready to say something, but proceed. Ask me any questions.
How are we planning to integrate down to Isbell?
Oh, so we have future freshman night, and we're also going to be giving the survey that Director Ornelas put together. So we still do need to collect that information. And we are working together with the administration down at Isbell in order to collaborate and coordinate, because that is going to help to inform the direction that we go, but the ultimate tell is going to be at registration time when the rubber meets the road and students make their decision. Right, so that's what we're doing right now. We're collecting future sophomore information, and this is, it's a slow, consistent, steady process. And so students individually are meeting with their counselor. Their counselors are inputting all of this into our QSIS master schedule module. And then we're able to then run the numbers. And that's where Melissa's skill set comes, because she's a master scheduler. So over spring break, or maybe even sooner, we should have an idea of what students are interested in, as well as kind of where things need to fall so that there are not conflicts. And I won't bore you with the details because there are a lot of technical details here.
I guess it was more to the, so I've heard, oh, go ahead, Christina.
I just, thank you. I just wanted to add on to your question regarding middle school. So we are working with the administration at the middle school. They're very excited to see, I actually have a meeting tomorrow to meet with Dr. Favila to share our data that we've gathered so far, because she's really excited to insert the feeder courses to the high school so that we're better aligned on the pathways that we do offer at the middle school as well as to the high school. So the students are building that skill set. They feel more confident they're, as they enter into the high school, and they can make more informed decisions on which pathways they are interested in.
All right. I think that was where I was getting at, because one of the things I've heard is that the electives could be better at ISBEL, right? And as much as they can, align with what's going on at the high school. So, I think it's necessary, right? Because when you come into the 9th grade, don't you really have to think about whether you're going to do an academy or not?
An academy or a pathway, yes. So I think we could do a better job at allowing our students the opportunity to explore all the pathways at the middle school. Maybe we're discussing how that would look on their electives and their master schedule. And if they're more informed, like I said, then they could decide which pathway they may want to pursue. And remember, even if they go into one and they don't like it, I think that that does serve a purpose as well, so that they know when they're going into college, they're narrowing their focus on the direction they want to take.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to highlight that at ISBEL, they used to have a robotics elective, and they're the teacher who was qualified to teach that, and kids were really excited about that. That teacher is no longer there. So I think it's important for us to at least recognize that it was there and that students were super excited about it. And I know Mark and Todd can probably speak to this, because we were vertically aligning. And that was helping to feed up into our program. And then we also have our MESA program, which is a STEM program. And so that is also feeding into our robotics and our engineering program. And as you saw from the data clearly shows that students are interested in engineering. And to speak to your equity question from before, Director Ornelas and I are working hard to increase our students who are in our English learners as well as in the special education department. It's a slow process, but it's slow and steady. And we are redirecting some of our funding, for example, Perkins funding, so that the funding is used in order to increase the participation rates of our students in our special populations. So I think that's something that is also behind the scenes that is occurring. And we do have special education teachers and many of our staff who are specially credentialed in various career technical education areas. So that is also one of those elements of a high quality CTE program.
Todd.
So first I will say we lost the teacher for the program, but the kids really did love it. I know they have a lot of really good equipment in there. And so Dr. Bond, maybe finding somebody qualified to teach those classes, would be great. I know that's probably the biggest issue. The other thing just comes to my mind, because I'm around the county at a lot of different high schools officiating. And I happened to officiate a game last night at Canyon High School over in Santa Clarita. And as I was walking to the gym, I was kind of like, what's this huge building right here? And I kind of peeked inside of it, and they had like cars up on lifts. You know, they had a nice, big, amazing auto shop. And I know that back in the day, we used to offer some of those things. Like even when I first came here, we had a pretty cool wood shop. So, you know, I know education is going different places, but I just wonder if there's a place for some of that hands-on stuff for kids who, you know, maybe that's what they're looking for. So I just thought I would bring it up. I thought it was relevant because I saw it last night. And so I just thought I'd share.
And to just build upon what Todd is saying, I think it's important to have things that are hands-on, so things like engineering. But if you noticed on what I shared, that pie graph, it also had students interested in like building and construction. And I know that Dr. Sandoval, one thing that you mentioned to me in a conversation that we had was, hey, there's our construction unit, a union. And so Director Ornelas and I actually, you know, had a conversation and started to look at some curriculum. And it might be something that we would look at as something that has potential for the future in an after-school program, and it can go all the way down to the 5th grade. So like I see a collaboration that goes all the way down to the elementary and things that come all the way up to the high school, because students, all they need is to do the curriculum, gain 500 hours, and then they can go into a pre-apprenticeship when they're 17. So, I mean, there are amazing opportunities there. And so just want to let you know that I'm listening and trying to be strategic. And these are things that also are corroborated in the survey. And there's a definite interest in things along the lines of construction and building.
You know, I'm definitely, you know, I personally, right, I'm very interested in having those things get down to Isabel, right? Because, you know, Isabel's sometimes the whipping boy, right, of the district, right? And it's like, well, what are we offering there, right? You know, we should be investing in that school, you know, and not just saying, oh, how terrible, right? So, you know, this is part of the ways in which we can invest in Isabel and make it a place that, you know, parents want to send their kids. So that's highly important. And plus, you know, it's a good time for, you know, one of the things that scares me about, you know, AG, right, is that you only have so many units, right? You have, you know, 60 credits of electives is not a lot, right? And so I don't know how much of the CTE pathways align to, you know, an AG or to the AG classes, right? And you know, but there's not a lot of gives, right? I mean, I remember when I was going to school, and you know, I took band 3 of my years, right? I didn't the 4th year because I couldn't. I just didn't have the space to do it anymore. You know, so I mean, we still have those issues. Is it even worse now?
So we definitely, I mean, there are always going to be students in the master schedule that have maybe a conflict or two. And I think, you know, like you were a band kid, you know, as a student.
Don't say it like that.
A kid who loved to play instruments. Okay. So, and as a high school student, I recall like just having a very impacted schedule due to, you know, honors and AP level courses. But I think what we need to do, and coming back to your point about equity, is we also need to look at all of our students, because I think that's like a, you know, a sliver of students. And a lot of students are not necessarily having that particular issue with, you know, too many things that don't fit into their schedule. We need to give them something that they're going to love and that they want to go through it in, you know, a particular sequence, whether it's a 2 to 4 course sequence.
Okay, Christina.
Oh, I apologize. I need to excuse myself. For a good reason, I'm actually meeting with the CTE department right now to share our survey results and evaluation and get some more feedback. And it really just aligns with this conversation. So nice to see everyone, and thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, and it is coming down to our, I think we only had an hour and a half scheduled for today. You know, and this is an initial conversation. Please, John, any last comments, right? I'm not cutting us all off, but you know, if you have something to say, please.
A couple quick things. How are we with aligning with Ventura College? Because I know they're going to start their vet tech program in the fall. And because I know I just met with their foundation yesterday, and they're looking at ramping that up. And I've had a discussion how close they're in with the high school to try and create that pathway for them there. I mean, it's right in our own backyard. It's going to be at the East Campus, you know, with Ohana. So I don't know if that's something we're looking at, because it's like I said, it is in our own backyard. And then another one was I met with the county fire recently, and you know, they're looking for individuals to join the fire department, and not necessarily as a firefighter, but you know, look for mechanics and other aspects of what they do. And I had mentioned that they should reach out to the high schools and start discussing about creating a pathway for them as well, because they are really hurting for individuals right now. So, which when I mentioned that to them, they really didn't think about that. They were just kind of focusing on the college. But I'm like, you know, we should go down to the high school level too, and see if there's individuals here that, you know, young students that have you know, give them an option if that's something they want to do. So I don't know if we've even reached out to the county to see what local programs are within our area that, you know, would fit within what you guys are looking at doing.
I agree. And John, you're recruited to be on our CTE advisory panel, so you should really be going to the next meeting that Christina's at. But the veterinary program at Moore Park would be well aligned with our ag science program. So that would definitely be something that would fit with our internships and our placement, as well as the industry certification and the course sequencing from high school up to the community college. So I definitely hear you. And I think there is, we've got to figure out what our focus pathways are, right? So we're streamlining, we're refocusing our efforts, but then there are also these other things that we could have as programs through maybe our own work experience program. So I know Superintendent Weinstein, he, you know, was in Oxnard. They have a great work experience program, a course sequence over 3 years, where programs like the ones that you mentioned, such as like, you know, Firefighter Academy that recruits kids in, would definitely be right along those work experience line. And there's definitely room for that. It's just a matter of deciphering. It's like, is this going to be a pathway, or is it going to be maybe a work experience program where students are able to enter in and start to gain those hours?
You know, one thing that struck me, I went to a CTE session at the school board administration conference in December. And one of the things they said is, well, they asked, you know how many pathways a typical German high school has? 160. And then I started, and I looked at that and I was like, wow, we can't get our 12 straight. How do you do 160? But I hadn't actually thought about the work experience, you know, as a quote unquote pathway. I mean, sometimes we think of these things as, you know, via the program, right, that we're getting money from, right? But how do we also, you know, have opportunities, you know, with firefighting or with vet tech or with these other things? You know, I think that's one of the things that maybe this committee, you know, or at least some members of this committee could really help with, because we're presumably connected with the community, right? And we hear about these opportunities. You know, we can't chase them all, but you know, that's certainly, you know, good information to be shared with the, you know, with you who are trying to create the most robust program that you can. Does anybody have any other thoughts about this? You know, this isn't the end of the discussion, right? It really is just the beginning.
I think the important thing is getting our pathways right, so they're all on track, right? And so before starting anything new, and I think that just in hindsight's 2020, and looking back over the last, you know, 8, 9 years since the first round of CTE funding and grant funding came through, is that there were too many that were started, but then they didn't all meet the 11 high quality indicators of a CTE program. So I think it's just coming back to the drawing board and making sure that what we're focused on meets all of those. And then we start looking at, okay, how are we going to roll this out? Maybe with any additional ones. And so programs like the one that you mentioned also sometimes have virtual sequences and pathways, which then expand students' choice, right? And I know that's something that is nice to have, is to have choice. However, we need to make sure that we first get the focused ones right.
Well, and how much of that can we kind of quote unquote outsource, right? You know, because maybe we only have 5 kids that are in a specific thing, but if we do dual enrollment in Ventura College, right, or Moore Park College or wherever the courses may be, then they can get that experience. Like, I mean, is that what we're using dual enrollment for? Is that kind of the vision, or what is dual enrollment really used for?
Yeah, so dual enrollment. Okay, so the dual enrollment courses, for example, we've had dual enrollment courses. It's like an English class that meets a high school requirement. And then a professor from, let's say, the Ventura College comes in and they're teaching collaboratively with our instructor. And then students get both college credit as well as high school requirement credit. We also have concurrent enrollment, which is students just taking, I'm sorry. Also, so also taking courses at the community college. And so students can do that as well. And then transfer some of those elective credits or credits in onto their transcript. And then students get credit for taking those college courses. So for example, we've had dual enrollment in the past, like together with ag, together with law enforcement, together with engineering. So that was when the first round of CTEIG funding came through, and we were a part of VC Innovates. Basically, we were working together collaboratively with professors, and we were starting all of this work in order to bring dual enrollment. And of course, a lot of that funding went away, and VC Innovates is no longer a program that's happening at the county level. However, I hope I answered your question on that.
Okay, does anybody have any further thoughts or questions? All right, since we are over our time, and I apologize for that, but you know, I think we had a good meeting, move the ball forward a little bit more. Do we have a time for our next meeting then? Are we gonna schedule it again for March 1st in 2 weeks? March 2nd, excuse me. Okay, so our next meeting will be Wednesday, March the 2nd, same time. And with that, I'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.